I died choking on my own vomit in a roach-infested motel room off I-5. The Seattle rain pounding the thin walls like it was trying to drown out my last ragged breaths. My family had stripped me bare, inheritance, dignity, everything, laughing as they toasted to my downfall with the very money they'd stolen from me. But death, it was just a shitty intermission. I woke up gasping in my old body. 25 again. The morning after my father's funeral, with the weight of their betrayal still a ghost in my veins, and a second chance burning like acid in my gut. That hook dragged me under fast. 1 minute. I'm Sophia Reyes, the forgotten middle child. 32 and broken. Penniless after my brother Jake and his scheming wife had lawyered up to claim Dad's estate, every last cent of the family logging business he'd built from nothing in the Cascades. They'd called it justice for my irresponsible ways, but I knew the truth. Jake had forged documents, buried the evidence of how he'd embezzled funds for years. And Mom had turned a blind eye because family comes first. I'd confronted them at the reading, screaming about the safe deposit box Dad had whispered to me on his deathbed, the one with proof of Jake's thefts. They laughed. Straight up cackled, like I was the punchline to their inside joke. Look at her, Jake had sneered, clinking glasses with his trophy wife, Lena. Sophia's got nothing. Zilch. And now she's gonna cry about it. Mom just patted my hand, murmuring about how I should have been more like Jake, the golden boy. I spiraled after that. Booze. Bad decisions. A string of dead-end jobs that paid just enough to keep the lights on in that motel hellhole. The overdose wasn't suicide, not really. It was exhaustion. The kind that creeps up when betrayal hollows you out. Pills to sleep. Whiskey to forget. And suddenly, lights out. Permanent. But waking up, that was the real gut punch. My eyes snapped open to the familiar creak of my childhood bed in the old Reyes family home on Queen and Hill. The one Dad had poured his soul into before the cancer ate him alive. Sunlight slanted through the lace curtains, carrying the scent of Mom's overbrewed coffee from downstairs. My hands, younger, unscarred, clutched the quilt, and my heart hammered like a jackrabbit's. I bolted upright, staring at the calendar on the wall, October 15th, 2018. 7 years back. The day after Dad's funeral. The day the will was read, and my life got torched. Holy shit, I whispered, tasting bile. It wasn't a dream. The ache in my chest was too real. The echo of that motel rain too fresh. I'd read enough trashy novels to know the trope: rebirth, revenge, rinse, repeat. But this was my shot. No more playing nice. No more Sophia, the screw-up, the artist who dropped out of college to chase freelance graphic design gigs while Jake climbed the corporate ladder Dad built for him. This time, I'd bury them. Metaphorically, at least. Or maybe not. I swung my legs over the bed, feet hitting the cool hardwood. My reflection in the vanity mirror showed a woman I barely recognized, 25. Fierce-eyed, with the same wild curls I'd later chopped short in despair. Dad's funeral dress still hung in the closet, black and severe. Downstairs, voices murmured, Mom's soft lilt, Jake's booming laugh, Lena's fake sweet chime. They were gathering for breakfast, probably plotting how to spin the will in their favor before the lawyer even showed. I paused at the door, hand on the knob. In my first life, I'd stumbled down weepy-eyed, begging for scraps. This time, I'd smile. I'd listen. I'd gather every goddamn thread they dangled and weave it into a noose. The kitchen smelled like bacon and betrayal. Mom, Elena Reyes, eternal martyr in her floral apron, hovered over the stove, flipping strips with a spatula like it was a weapon. Jake lounged at the oak table Dad had carved himself, his broad shoulders straining his polo shirt, that smug grin already in place. Lena sat beside him, her blonde bob perfect, manicured nails tapping her phone, probably texting her Pilates instructor about family drama. Morning. Sleepyhead, Mom said, spotting me first. Her eyes, the same hazel as mine, flicked with that mix of pity and impatience. You okay? You cried yourself out last night? I forced a smile, sliding into my chair.
Yeah, Mom. Just.
Processing. My voice was steady, a far cry from the hitch it had had before. Jake glanced up from his Seattle Times, eyebrow arched. Rough night. Soft? Dad would have wanted you to buck up. Legacy and all that. He said it casual, but I caught the edge, the proprietary gleam in his eye. He thought he had it in the bag. The business, the house, the lake cabin up in the Olympics. All of it. Lena leaned in, all faux concern. We're here for you, sweetie. Family sticks together. Her hand on Jake's knee screamed otherwise. I nodded, pouring coffee black as my mood. Absolutely. Speaking of, when's the lawyer coming? For the will? Mom's spatula paused midair. Oh, honey, that's today. But it's just formalities. Your father was clear. Jake takes the reins at Reyes Timber. My gut twisted, but I kept my face neutral. In my old life, that's when I'd lost it, waving that safe deposit key like a white flag. This time, I'd play dumb. Sounds fair. Jake's always been the business guy. He preened. Of course. Damn right. Dad and I talked strategy for years. You'll land on your feet. Soft. Maybe that art thing. Lena tittered. Or modeling. You're so pretty when you're not moping. I swallowed the urge to hurl my mug at her perfectly tanned face. Instead, I laughed, a light, disbelieving sound that hung in the air like smoke.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey.
Pass the bacon. The morning dragged, laced with their subtle jabs. Mom fretted over Dad's wishes. Jake monologued about expansion plans. Lena scrolled Zillow for upgrades to the house that wasn't hers yet. I ate slow, cataloging every word, every glance. The safe deposit box, key still tucked in Dad's old desk upstairs, held the smoking gun, ledgers showing Jake's siphoning of company funds into offshore accounts. Dad had confronted him weeks before the diagnosis, but Jake gaslit him into silence. Family secret, he'd called it. I'd found out too late in my first go-round, after they'd already lawyered up to declare me incompetent. By noon, the lawyer arrived, stuffy old Harlan from downtown, briefcase stuffed with legalese. We gathered in the living room, the one with Dad's faded flannel shirts still draped over the armchair like ghosts. Harlan cleared his throat, spectacles perched on his nose. Elena, Jacob, Sophia. Eduardo left a straightforward estate. The business to Jacob, the house and cabin jointly to the family, with provisions for Sophia's art studio in the garage. And a trust for any future grandchildren. Jake's grin widened. Mom dabbed her eyes. Lena cooed about little Reyes's on the way. No baby yet in 18. But I remembered, 2 years later, she'd popped out a boy, sealing their claim. I leaned forward, innocent as pie. Provisions? Like what? Harlan. He flipped pages. A clause about transparency. Eduardo insisted on an audit of company books before full transfer. To ensure integrity, the room froze. Jake's fork clattered. Wait.
No.
We were in the living room now. His jaw tightened, that golden boy mask cracking just a hair. Audit? Dad never mentioned. Oh. He did. I cut in softly. Eyes on Harlan. Right before the end. Said something about loose ends. Mom shot me a look, warning. Pleading. Lena's nails dug into her chair. Harlan nodded. Indeed. Sophia, you're named executor for that part. Eduardo trusted your eye for detail. Jake laughed. Too loud. Soph?
Come on.
She's got her doodles to worry about. I met his gaze. Smile sweet as strychnine. Guess I'll make time.
Bro.
For Dad. That was the spark. The rest of the day blurred into feigned civility, hugs at the door, promises of weekly dinners. But as they drove off in Jake's gleaming F-150, I slipped upstairs to Dad's desk. The key was there, cold brass in my palm. Downtown First National Bank. Tomorrow, I'd open it. Tomorrow, the games began. But revenge? It wasn't a straight shot.
It simmered.
Over the next weeks, I played the grieving daughter to perfection. Freelance gigs picked up, logos for startups. Enough to stash cash under my mattress. I audited the books solo first, poring over spreadsheets in the dim garage light, the air thick with sawdust ghosts. Jake's thefts were sloppy genius, fake invoices for equipment, wired to shell companies in the Caymans. Hundreds of thousands. Dad had confronted him. All right, there were emails, heated, begging Jake to stop. For your sister's sake, one read. Jake's reply? She'll never know. Let me handle it.
Bastard.
I'd make sure she did. By November, I had copies, digital, printed, emailed to a burner account. But exposure wasn't enough. I needed leverage. Controversy. The kind that'd make headlines in this rainy corner of America, where logging families like ours were kings or corpses. Enter Lena. In my first life, she'd been the perfect stepsister-in-law, all yoga pants and charity galas. But I dug deeper after my death. Forum whispers. Old texts I'd hacked from Jake's phone during a family reconciliation dinner. Lena had a past, a messy divorce from some tech bro in Silicon Valley. Alimony dodged via creative accounting. And a secret, she'd faked a pregnancy scare once to trap her ex. History repeats. Right? I started small. Anonymous tips to her social media friends, subtle. Like screenshots of her old Venmo charges to a clinic that screamed, abortion fund. Nothing illegal. Just enough to make her circle buzz. She confronted me at Thanksgiving, eyes red-rimmed over the turkey carcass. Sophia, what the hell? Those rumors. Rumors? I blinked. All wide-eyed. Like what? You know. About. Before Jake. Mom hovered, wringing her apron. Jake glowered from the den, football blaring. I shrugged. People talk.
Lena.
Especially when money's involved. Her face paled. This is about the will, isn't it? You're jealous. Jealous. I laughed. Low and real.
Nah.
just curious why Jake's suddenly flush with cash for that new boat. The table went silent. Mom's fork scraped china like nails on a chalkboard. Jake stormed in, veins bulging. Watch your mouth. Soft. Or you'll what? I stood, calm as the Puget Sound on a flat day. Audit faster? Harlan's breathing down your neck already. He lunged, half-hearted, stopped by Mom's gasp. But the seed was planted. Cracks spiderwebbing. Winter hit hard, sleet lashing the windows as I plodded deeper. I hired a PI on the sly, ex-cop named Ruiz, grizzled and cheap, who owed Dad a favor from the mill days. Dig on Jacob Reyes, I told him over burner phones. Everything. Reports trickled in. Jake's mistress, a barista half his age named Taylor, tucked in a Capitol Hill walk-up. Photos of him slipping her envelopes. Lena knew. Text showed her begging him to end it, threatening divorce. But the kicker? Taylor was pregnant.
For real this time.
Due in spring. My first life flashed. Jake's miracle baby announcement in 2020. How it had greased the trust wheels. Mom doting like it erased his sins. Now, twist of the knife. I debated telling Lena. Mercy or fuel? Controversy brewed either way. Air it public. And the Reyes name tanked. Logging was cutthroat. One whiff of scandal. And clients bolted. Decision time loomed. Christmas Eve. Snow blanketing the hill. They showed unannounced. Jake with a bottle of Dad's scotch. Lena in a cashmere sweater that screamed, trying too hard, Mom trailing with pies. Family time. Jake boomed. Like we hadn't iced each other for weeks. I let them in. The house creaking under pretense. Fireplace crackled. Lights twinkled on the tree I'd half-assed. Small talk soured fast, Jake probing the audit, me dodging with smiles. Then Lena cracked, whispering in the kitchen. Soft.
Please.
Whatever you're doing. Stop. For Elena's sake. I rinsed mugs. Water scalding. Doing? Like what? The tips. The questions to Harlan. Jake's. He's scared. Good. The words slipped.
Raw.
She flinched. You're ruining us. All for spite. I turned, drying my hands slow. Spite? He stole from Dad. From me. You knew. Her eyes darted, guilt. Yes. But defiance too. Family protects family. You get that, right? Not anymore. That night, as they drove off into the flurry, I made the call. Ruiz. Leak the mistress to Lena's circle. Subtly. New Year's brought the storm. Lena's girls' night imploded. Texts Ruiz forwarded showed her unraveling, confronting Jake in a screaming match that echoed through their Bellevue McMansion. He denied. Gaslit. But she hired her own PI. Irony.
Bitch.
By February, the audit wrapped. Harlan's report. Discrepancies. Jake called an emergency meeting at the house, neutral ground. He claimed. Mom begged me to forgive. Lena sat silent. Hand on her still flat belly. No. Wait. In 19 she'd announce soon. My timeline blurred with rage. We faced off in the dining room. Paper strewn like battlefield maps. It's a mistake, Jake blustered, sweat beading on his brow. Those wires? Vendor errors. I slid the ledger across. Caymans.
Jake.
Dad's highlighted them himself. Mom whimpered. Boys. Please. Not boys.
Mom.
My voice cut steel.
Thieves.
Lena broke first. Voice trembling. Tell her. Jacob. About Taylor. The room detonated. Jake's face purpled. You bitch, how? Doesn't matter. I leaned in, eyes locked. Divorce him. Lena.
Walk.
Or I go public. Reyes Timber in the PI. Embezzlement. Affairs. Your charity board? Gone. Controversy incarnate. Blackmail?
Borderline.
But in America, leverage was king, trump cards in a game of cutthroat capitalism. She nodded, tears streaming. For the baby. Baby? Twist 1. She was pregnant. Jake's? Or revenge fling? Didn't matter. Mom gasped, clutching pearls. Sophia, this is cruel. Cruel. I whirled. They laughed when I had nothing. Jake lunged again, this time connecting. Fist glancing my shoulder. Pain bloomed, but I swung back, nail catching his cheek. Blood welled. A thin red line. Mom screamed. Chaos.
Cops came.
Statements. Assault charges hovered, mutual. But I played victim soft. Jake arrested overnight. Bailed by dawn. The press sniffed. Local logging error in domestic scuffle. Stocks dipped. Clients called. Wary. Spring thawed the ice. But not the war. Lena filed quiet. With a gag order I suggested via anonymous note. She got the house in Bellevue. Alimony fat. Jake? Sidelined. Seething from a rented condo. I bought my own place, a fixer-upper in Fremont. Troll capital. With a garage begging for an art studio. A closed escrow with audit restitution, my cut. Fair and square. First life. I'd never seen a dime. This? Sweet vindication. But the hook twisted deeper.
May?
Ruiz called. Your brother's skipping town. Panama. Let him. I'd won the board.
Then.
The doorbell. Mom. Frail in the rain. With a girl, young. Scared. Belly swollen under a hoodie. Taylor. Soft, Mom pleaded. She's family now. Jake's mess.
Can she stay?
Just till the baby's born. I stared at the porch. Rain dripping from eaves. The pregnant guest. Full circle. Controversy peaked. Take her in, and I humanized the enemy. Turn her away. Heartless bitch in the headlines. I stepped aside. Door creaking wide. Come in. But this changes nothing. As they shuffled past, Taylor's eyes met mine, grateful, wary. Mom sobbed relief. Upstairs, in my new office overlooking the ship canal, I poured scotch, Dad's vintage. Revenge tasted bitter. Layered. Jake called later. Voice cracked. You win. Soft. But the baby's innocent. Everyone's innocent till they're not. I hung up. Summer burned hot. Tension simmering in my quirky bungalow. Taylor, 19, wide-eyed from Yakima, nested in the guest room. Cravings at midnight. Ultrasounds on my coffee table. Mom visited daily. Knitting booties. Whispering apologies like Hail Marys. I was wrong.
Mia.
Blind. I nodded. Thawing slow. Cooking tamales together. Stories of Dad's mill days. Laughter crept in. Fragile. But Jake? He circled. Emails pleading access. Then threats. I'll sue for alienation. Bullshit. But it rankled. Taylor opened up, one muggy night. Feet swollen on the couch. He promised marriage. Then you. Everything blew up. I sipped iced tea. Fan whirring. He promises. Always has. She rubbed her bump. It's a girl. Sophia. After. Well, you kinda saved me. Twist 2, named after me. Irony laced with something softer. Pity. Redemption. Labor hit in August. Monsoon rains flooding the streets. Hospital lights harsh. Mom pacing. Me in the waiting room scrolling Jake's latest cease and desist. Bullshit. Then. The call. Healthy girl. 8 pounds. Screaming fury. I held her first, tiny. Fists balled like she knew the score. Taylor beamed. Exhausted. Ants off. Hell yes. Jake showed at discharge. Gaunt in the lobby. Eyes hollow. Let me see her. Controversy crested. Forgive? Or final cut? I blocked the door. Baby in arms. Earn it. Therapy. Repay every cent. Or vanish. He crumpled. Nodding. I get it now. Dad was right. Months blurred. Jake checked in sporadic, but trying. Sober meetings, restitution checks. The business? I ran it interim. Green hires. Sustainable cuts. Profits climbed. Fall leaves turned. Taylor settled in community college. Baby cooing in my studio. Mom moved closer. Mending fences with potlucks. But the real twist? October 15th, 2025, 7 years post-rebirth. I stood on my porch, little Sophia toddling at my feet, watching headlights approach. Jake's truck, polished now. He stepped out. Lena beside him. Reconciled?
No.
Co-parent truce. For the kid. We're selling the old place, he said. Voice rough. Proceeds split. Fair. Eyed them. Rain starting soft. Fair. As they drove off, I scooped up the girl. Her giggles pure lightning. Death had given me this, not just revenge, but roots. Deeper than blood. They'd laughed when I had nothing. Now, I had everything. And damn. It felt American as apple pie with a side of spite.